Today's topic is a discussion about corporate greed and capitalism. We're going to discuss a few different questions about this topic, and I would like to hear from you all about this. I would really like to have a thoughtful discussion with both agreements and disagreements while keeping it professional. This means everyone needs to take their turn, speak once at a time, hear the person out, and respond directly to their point. Nobody must answer if they don't want to, and I'd like to make sure everyone knows I'm recording as well.
Okay. All right.
This discussion is not about any kind of comparison between any forms of government, but instead about the potential pros and cons of corporate greed as it relates to a free market capitalist society. The purpose of this discussion is to think about the balance of making profits while keeping the customers and shareholders happy, and what happens when one is prioritized more than the other. My first question is, these three asset managers, it's kind of a long one. First of all, do you guys have any questions before we start?
We're all good?
I think I'm good.
Okay.
Ready to talk.
Okay. So BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street are three big asset managers who own a total of $60 trillion in assets. And clearly they have been responsible for an insane amount of growth in countless different markets. Should they be at threat of being labeled a monopoly and being split up by government officials because of how much they own? Or should they be let free because it's free market?
Well, I think because they're all under like the same like thing, right?
Well,
like,
they have very similar shareholders, but they are three separate entities.
Right. No, I get they're separate entities, but I mean like they're all in the same line of business, right? So technically none of them are by definition a monopoly, but I do think that considering those three companies own like I guess I don't know a percentage of everything, but it's a high amount. I'm aware of that. Yeah, but I think that they should have more regulations, especially because once you have all that power, no one man should have all that power.
Yeah, I honestly great quote.
But I just think that once you give power to like one singular like corporate entity or person, they're able to like influence almost any market possible, especially with that much money on their hands. Like small businesses can be affected by that easily, which immediately infiltrates housing and all those other areas of the economy.
Yeah, I think, my big take on this is I'm a big believer in small businesses. I come from a town where, it's dominated by small businesses. That's the only thing there. And I think the reason that these small businesses can't get any traction is because they go to a bigger town, they go to a bigger city, and it's already dominated, for example, by all of these people. And so do I think it should be like a complete breakdown that the government should completely intervene? No. But I agree with Zach. There should be some different like regulations that go along with that.
Well, I think it's possible for them to thrive in bigger cities, but I think like if they're not getting funding from those people, because those companies like are in arms with like the banks a lot, right? Yep. So if you're not able to get a loan because it contradicts what these companies want, they just won't give it to you. They won't give the okay to the bank. So then your business just goes under, just like that. You just don't get funding that you need to stay afloat, and then you either have to sell your location or you have to file for bankruptcy.
I think I'd like to comment.
Okay.
I think there's a line, right? Because obviously we're in America, land of the free, right? You're free to do whatever the hell you want, or the heck you want, whatever you want, right? So, it feels wrong to say these companies can't do what they want, but at the same time, there's an amount of money that once you reach a certain amount of money, you don't need any more money, and at that point, they're just trying to control people. Right. But I think it's hard for people to figure out where the government needs to step in, because that's difficult. Yeah. Anyone else?
Well, I think it goes back to especially like in government, you can't make everyone happy. There's different amendments that counteract like what anyone else will have. Like if you think the school systems and the tax brackets, you can't fit to everyone's needs because then it just pisses off other people. You can't make everyone happy all the time, and unfortunate as it is, everyone's got their own different problems, different views and everything's just always going to clash, and it's just not possible to make everyone happy. And so going by the Constitution, it's unconstitutional for you to go to these big companies that are all under the same practice, all under the same label, just because they're the big three and own majority of things. It's unconstitutional for you to call them a monopoly when they have competition, And
Okay, I don't want to let this go on for too long, so
you're good.
I think we should probably go on to the next question.
Yeah.
I don't even have this written down. It was just one I thought of while we were talking. So, lobbying, it's obviously a huge thing. And if we look at, a great example is Senator J.D. Vance, and now he's the vice president.
Right.
Do you think someone like that who is, funded by someone who has a large interest of getting a government contract, do you think the government should limit lobbying for companies like that who obviously have adverse interests for the American people? Let's say.
I think it's hard for you to say that, especially when a lot of people in the government have lobbyists that fund them a lot. You can look at like websites that they have and see who their top donors are. A lot of them have pretty similar names, pretty similar last names. But they give so much money that it's hard for them to argue against lobbyists when they are funded by lobbyists. And it sways their opinions, and it's just a shameful thing. But it's so integrated into society that that's how these politicians become millionaires. Like, they go in making what do they make, like $60K a year, maybe a little bit more. I guess I don't know. I don't know their annual wages or rate or whatever. But I know that a lot of them get into business that they could what's it called when you know what's gonna happen to a stock before it happens.
Insider trading.
Yeah, they can do insider trading just because they know things are gonna get passed in Congress.
And Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, right.
I wasn't gonna say.
But it's hard, especially when you're asking the people who are in power, who are being held to that power by lobbyists, for them to get rid of lobbyists.
It's a losing battle.
Yeah, exactly. They're gonna be like, no, we can't do that because they fund me.
I think an important thing to remember is, like, I think about the churches. In order for churches to thrive, they have to have people that are willing to give to them. Right. And I think that's how it is in America too. You can't grow a company, you can't grow a business without having people that donate, without having people that go in and consume your product. And I think it's the same with politicians. We can't say, no, you guys can't get private funding for what you're doing. I think it's part of being American. I think it's part of one of the things that makes America great is that these politicians can go and recruit, you could say, these huge donors that help and fund their thing. And I think that should be allowed.
I think the thing that's different about lobbyists though than like donors is the donors don't hold power. They do it because they believe in the cause that the person or the company is like throwing out there. But lobbyists will give money to get their point, push their views out there. So they're using them as a platform for themselves. So like, say for example, if just as an example, if they're against gay marriage, they'll lobby a candidate or someone in power to speak out against it and then rally whoever's in their communities that they have political influence over.
Right. And at the end of the day, what does it come down to? It comes down to the U.S. citizens. If the U.S. citizens support those values, they're going to vote for it. If they don't support those values, they're not going to vote for it. So, like, you can say that the lobbyists hold all these power and they're pushing their agenda, but we, the people, like, we have the power. If we don't vote for it, those laws, those objectives that they're trying to get through, they're not going to get passed.
I think the thing with that is that lobbyists will control media outlets where people get fed information. So then they'll push that agenda out there, and then that's all. Like, if you watch the news every single day, like a specific channel, your mind's going to be formed into thinking that way. And the lobbyists go in and they push their agenda forward through the media, right? It's a known thing that medias are biased, and there's a reason they're biased. It's because they get paid to be biased, right? And if that's the information you're taking in, if that's the information that's in your household, your family, your friends, that's all you guys worry about, that's how you're going to believe, that's how you're going to think, right?
I see that point.
So,
yeah, I think you guys said it great, honestly. I don't have much to add. I think, it should just be limited to do these lobbyists have the best interest of the American people at heart? And I think it also is, the onus is also on the, I guess, politician, whether or not they're going to take that money. And sadly, most do, but
That's true.
yeah. So, this is a good question. Should the Federal Reserve be privately owned or federally owned, as the name suggests? And do you think that them being privately owned has influenced their past, present, and maybe future decisions on monetary policy for the American people at large?
Is it currently privately owned?
Yes. And it has been since, I
Who
believe.
privately owns the Federal Reserve?
There's, I believe, 12 different locations. I don't have the facts on me, but they are regulated somewhat, but regardless, it is still privately owned. It's not government. We don't elect the officials who go and own the private
So
Federal Reserve.
we have people that aren't in charge of our government, in charge of our money.
Yes.
All right, that doesn't sound right to me. Well, I mean, I feel like our government should be in charge of our people and our assets, and not other companies, other people.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
should be elected in.
Yeah.
Do you want that here?
Yeah.
Joe wants to add.
I think we can go back to that conversation we had about lobbyists. If these huge, it's privately owned, but it's the rich and powerful that are privately owning it. There's people that are going and paying to push their agenda in the government. So either way, does it change? Because those people that are in power, those people with the money, either way are going to be in control if we're going with this, lobbyist agenda.
Yeah.
I think you could tie that to like the JFK situation in Cuba, where he didn't want to go to war, but all the people that had all the money for war wanted him to push him towards that. And I mean, thankfully he was able to de-escalate the situation. But I mean, if it had came down to it and we had to go to war, it would probably because people were pushing for war. The higher ups wanted war because at the end of the day, it generates them more money. When our country's been in a war, we generate more money. Other than the Civil War, right, or the American Revolution, because we just didn't have an economy. But we generate more money when we're in war because we have to fund the military stuff, and then the stocks go up for all the military companies.
Let's get back to the Federal Reserve question.
Sorry. Oh, sorry.
Stay on topic, please.
I was talking it back, but
Well, I actually no.
I'm seeing the
That's a
point.
great segue. Honestly, your point was a great segue to my next question.
okay.
So,
Great.
without this like corporate greed, I'd say.
Right.
Would we have flown by without this greed, we would have flown by many of the horrors that have taken place in the name of profit. But do you think we would have advanced as far or in the same way without such greed?
I
think wars is a great point for that.
you could make that same argument, especially like after the Great Depression going into World War II, our economy boomed going into World War II. You got to put like praise on the government there too. They stepped in, made a lot of changes with taxes, roads, and all that afterwards. But just bringing the power to the American people and making it so that way they have a cause, because obviously they wanted to go fight the war, right? In World War II, they wanted to go fight the cause. There was no appeal against it, right? And that's why like every American companies decided like was manufacturing more, everything was getting bought out of America more, and we were selling to other countries more too, because we were known as a global superpower,
Right.
even though we were in a depression at the time.
Right.
So our economy grew from war.
Brought us out of the depression.
Yeah, it brought us out of the lowest point in our economy. We about got destroyed as a country because we just had no money. We had no money. The banks had no money. They closed. Everyone who had stocks just couldn't get their money back. So everyone was either broke or super rich, and there's no in between.
Yep.
Like the middle class just didn't exist. Yep. And war brought us out of it because we were able to fund ourselves more, have more things in our own country, and we had more money just from other countries that were buying things from us.
So, since 2020, we've seen a huge decline in the economy of the U.S. Would you say a solution to that is to go to war?
No, I wouldn't necessarily. I wouldn't necessarily say that a
an
great
option.
way to go would be to go back into war.
So recently, big agencies, or I guess asset managers, like we talked about with BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street earlier, which we had touched on, they're now buying residential properties at an insane amount.
Yeah,
And
I
then
heard about that.
fix and flipping or
Yeah.
whatever they're doing, but they're charging rent,
Yeah.
and they're doing it to such a point where they can control the market,
Yep.
the local economy for rent and stuff. Do you think that companies over a certain amount should be barred from buying properties like that,
Yes.
or it's free market?
I feel like if these companies continue on their current path, eventually they'll be at a point where they can take over the country because they'll have more value in their country than our country actually has in themselves. Yep.
Thank
And
you.
again, they don't need all that money. They're at a point, I mean, you said $60 trillion. Who in their right mind is using $60 million?
Trillion.
60 trillion. Potato, tomato.
I think it's a dang shame, you know, because it just takes like all the people that don't make enough annually and are already struggling, that are trying to find housing, like they go to these places that are marked up just so much just because they control that market. Like the market is probably the worst it's been in years. Like, I guess I don't know the statistic off the top of my head, but like from things that I've seen and things that I've heard, the housing market is impossible to get into unless you have a lot of money saved up or you just make a lot a year. And I mean, you could tie that to education too, because education does make it so you can make more money because you get those higher paying jobs because you went to school and you got a degree. But then you still have those student loans you have to pay off. And I don't think the average person is even buying a house until they're in their 30s right now.
Yeah, I don't know the numbers,
I
but
think it's 32.
I would.
Like,
Yeah, I think-
the average person
yeah.
is 32 buying.
And like, that's insane. Like college kids that are graduating with at least a bachelor's are 21 to 22 years old. And
And
that
they're
means,
going back and they're living in their parents' house.
Yeah,
because
I
they
mean-
can't afford anything else.
and their parents, I mean, I'm sure they love to have them around, right? Unless
Right.
like, oh, my baby's home, right? But I like, if you have a girlfriend or especially a wife or maybe even a kid, you know, things happen in college. Like, if you don't have money or an education, like, and you can't, like, that alone already hurts you financially. But the housing market being skyrocketed with how much everything costs, and like, I think, like, I guess I don't know how many square feet it would translate to, but you can't get a lot of room for like $100,000. I don't even think you can get a house for $100,000 in this country.
Well,
This
I
house-
mean,
depending on the
this house
state.
Like, I guess
worth
depending on the
$100,000.
state, right? But like,
it's
if
like
you
100,
if you
yeah.
went out to like the way country, you could maybe buy a house for like $100,000 or like close to like a school. But you're not gonna be able to fit a family in there. You're gonna be able to fit yourself and a dog.
A good boy.
Well, I don't think
No.
there's. Okay, well, I guess now there are. I was gonna say I don't think there's many one-bed houses, but honestly,
Yeah.
I mean-
they had to start making them
Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
I mean, and they just got all these pop-up shop houses that are like the plumbing's bad, the electrical's bad, the AC's bad. I mean, it's just whatever like cheap stuff you can throw into a house just so we can get people in homes.
Yeah, I mean, I go back to a place that even I worked. They own 27 apartment complexes in Sioux Falls. Sioux Falls is not a big city. 27 apartment complexes. I think they said it's like 60% of the apartment complexes in Sioux Falls are theirs, and it's like when you have that much power, you know. I think greed is a huge thing. You know, we go back to that question, if there's no greed, people need to be less greedy. I mean, I think as a country, the times that we thrive the best is when we work together, when our goal was to bring this country up, not to bring ourselves up. And I think that's what we need to get back to.
I think it gets to a point though when the country is like so up in value, like in how much everything's worth. Like the price of the dollar just reaches a max point to where like you run out of room because everyone's buying things.
well, sorry, really quick, not
Yeah,
to
no, you're
interrupt,
good.
but the dollar is constantly devaluing.
No, I know now.
Okay, sorry.
I know now, but I'm saying like it peaked at a point, right?
Yeah,
And that point, like, you either stay at that point forever because you just get to a point where it can't go up, right? Because, I mean, international influence and rural influence and things like that. But, like, once it starts devaluing and you can't put money into things anymore because everyone else owns all the money, it's impossible to get back up to that standard.
or Or the privately owned Federal Reserve will just keep printing more.
Right. I mean, I guess, but that just devalues the dollar more.
Oh, yeah, that's... Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's a reason, like, it was impossible to buy eggs, like, the last year. I mean, obviously, the avian flu, like, wiped out a bunch of chickens, so, like, it was just rare to get eggs.
To circle back and just get a bit back on topic, and to our final point, or final question. Tax cuts, like we've seen with the Big Beautiful Bill, have been given to the highest level of businesses, and for the intention of having a trickle-down effect on employees. So they get more tax breaks, they can pay their employees more, they can do more business, yada, yada, yada. But instead, historically, like trillion-dollar companies, I'm not talking about small businesses raising money, but big, giant companies, instead of trickling down, they just buy back their own stocks, which artificially inflates the price, which is good for the shareholders, but the company's not doing any better. So like Microsoft,
Employees aren't doing any better either.
yeah, like an example could be Microsoft. They don't have to improve Windows 10 at all.
No.
But their company stock value can keep going up because they can just
Like
keep buying
Madden.
back their stocks. Yeah, it's crazy. The question is, if the government is going to give these tax cuts for the purpose of the average American employee, should this legislation include clauses about what to do with the money, or does this conflict with what should be allowed under the free market?
I think it should go directly to the people. I think if we're giving tax cuts, we should give tax cuts to the people.
Well, if the business gets tax cuts, what should they do with that money?
I don't
Should
think the
there be
businesses
restrictions
should
on
get
what they-
tax cuts. I don't think the
Why would
businesses
you-
need tax cuts.
Yeah, no, I think I think the businesses need tax cuts, but I think there needs to be regulations about what to do with the tax cuts. It needs, I mean, like you said, it needs to funnel to the people, because I think what's happening is, I mean, we can keep going back to that greed. You know, the owners of these businesses, you know, they see, oh, we have a bunch of new money because we have less taxes to pay. We have more things to write off, and instead of blessing, you know, the people that are building their business up at the very bottom, they're saying, look at what we can do at the very top. And I think there needs to be regulations. Why were the tax cuts given in the first place? It was so that it would funnel down to the working class, but it never did.
I guess I don't know what laws are in place, or like if there's anything in the Constitution that negates restrictions on those laws. Like, I mean, if there is, then I guess it makes sense why they don't regulate it as much as they should. But I do think that there's something to be said that when people aren't getting what the laws are intended for, something needs to be done. Right? You can't make a law that's intended for it to for like a certain thing to happen and then just watch as it doesn't, because you're not regulating, you're not executing it correctly. Like, you can't say, "Oh, I'm going to go to the gym every day," and then you get your alarms, right? Those are like the laws or the alarms, right, that tell you to go, and then you just bypass them anyways. You're just like, no, I don't really feel like it today,
Doom
you know?
scroll.
Or
Yeah.
you drive to the gym and then drive back to your
Exactly.
house.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, like, you're telling yourself you're going to put in the effort, and then you're watching as an external factor just negates it because you just aren't regulating it as much as you should. Like, you have the power to do it, you're just not doing it.
Right. Yeah. Or, I guess going back to that metaphor, you're telling like the person who's paying for your gym membership, which would be the taxpayer for this metaphor, you're telling them, "Oh, well, I went to the gym," but it's like, dude, you weren't in the gym.
Yeah, you weren't
You
putting in
went
any of
there,
the work.
but then you went back.
I mean, there's no progress.
Yeah,
Nothing's
exactly.
changing.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, I guess that'd be a good place to wrap up. Just one thing I wanted to say is, I think one Bible verse can conclude this whole thing, and it's that the love of money is the root of all evil. Not money, but the love of money and greed. So, do you guys have any questions?
I don't think so. I think we
It was a
covered
great
it.
discussion.
All right. Yeah, thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Of course.